guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. This is going to be sort of part deux. Hi, Penny. Penny's down here wanting to get petted. This is part deux, part two of down tuning. One of the videos that I've done that's gotten a lot of traffic lately is the one about down tuning your 12 string and why, the reasons why I do it. And I tell a couple of different reasons on there. And some of those are practical and structural, and others are musical. And somebody had a question today, says, hey, if it's bad to tune your 12 string to concert pitch 12 full E, A, D, G, B, E, why do you have one that's tuned in standard tuning? Well, let me just answer that question, and we'll talk a little bit about, again, just to reiterate some of the points as to why down tuning is the thing on the electric 12 string. First off, if you go back to the 60s when the 12 string really hit its first kind of boom in popular music, and into the 70s, the guitar construction of the time and the adhesives and things that they used, plus you're dealing with wood and other stuff, most 12 strings were not warranted to be able to be tuned up to full concert pitch. For example, it wasn't until the mid 1970s that Martin guitars actually had an adjustable truss rod, and then they had a steel bar, but there was no adjusting that neck. And so if you had a 12 string Martin and the neck started to bow from the string tension, then that guitar was going to be permanently messed up. You would have to go to a luthier, and they would have to do all kinds of stuff to try to fix that neck, and it was expensive, and it was not easily done. The Gibsons and things of the time would have just tons and tons of stress on the top of the guitar where the bridge is. You've got on a guitar that has just a regular standard bridge, you get this sort of torsion thing that's pulling up like this on the bridge on an acoustic guitar. And you see 12 strings where that were 10 years old, 15 years old, and where on this bottom edge of the acoustic bridge, you'd see where they were starting to pull up off the top of the guitar. And under full pitch, it was just a matter of time, that thing was going to explode, and that bridge was going to go flying off. I remember in a cheap 12 string in a music store doing that one time. The bridge just came right off the thing. It sounded like the guitar exploded. It scared the living daylights out of me. If the thing was really, really glued on there super tight, then what would happen is the top of the guitar would start to give. You'd get an effect called bellying, where the lower bout of the guitar would start to actually pull up and get like a little bubble here, and the top would no longer be flat. And then that would raise the action at the strings, at the neck here, and it would cause all kinds of problems. So they came up with things like trapeze tailpieces, where you had like a bridge, like a trapeze down here, and you put the strings through that, and then you just have down bearing onto the bridge. There would be some kind of guitars like that. I've got one here I can kind of show you. And that was one way of dealing with the string tension. But one of the problems then you get there is getting proper down bearing on the top of the guitar in order to get good sustain and good tone. So that was kind of a thing. As you got later on past the mid-70s into the 80s, and you started getting two-way truss rods, and you started getting, like Guild built their guitars with two truss rods in the middle. So there were not very many manufacturers that would actually honor their warranty if you tune their 12 strings up to full concert pitch. They'd always tell you to tune it a half step or a whole step down. Taylor came along. Taylor's neck design, which was basically didn't use a dovetail joint. They're kind of like machined and kind of fit in that way. There's metal-to-metal parts, and they're holding them in place. They were able to warranty their guitars up to full concert pitch, and Guild was able to because they had the double truss rod system in their necks. Even then, you can still have bridge issues and bellying issues on an old Guild. So a lot of guitar players just tune down because it extended the life of the guitar. There's hundreds of pounds of pressure of tensile pressure on the guitar that you're playing, and then necks and stuff just aren't made in many cases to take that kind of tension 24/7. So in some cases, if you went in these older guitars, it was bad to put that much tension on the guitar, and it might even void your warranty. with modern guitars, that's less of a thing. Many guitars now, are like in the cheaper end of the guitar spectrum, are laminated. Laminated tops are a plywood, and they're very strong. And there's so much pressure on the top. I mean, the resonance really isn't much of a problem. So even a laminated 12-string can sound pretty good. Now, why tune down then? If you can tune up to concert pitch, why tune down? Well, there's musical things that you can do. I was sitting here playing this guitar at the beginning, and I got tons of echo on it. So this one is tuned to standard pitch, but it's an electric guitar. I've got a metal bridge that's bolted into the body. I've got a pretty steady, stable neck here. It's got the kind of little trans bar across here that helps get the proper down bearing with this slab style headstock. And so it's pretty stable. I don't have to worry about this one so much. I can adjust the action where I want to without buzz, and it stays pretty rock solid. There's a truss rod in here. But sometimes I want to tune down for a particular effect. If I'm playing an acoustic guitar, sometimes I want really deep bass. Sometimes I don't want as much jangle. Sometimes I want to have more resonance and more low end to fill out an instrumental. Sometimes I need to have a deeper bass response so I can get the sound I want on the top end. Or let's say I'm going to do something that's particularly athletic on the guitar where I've really got to stretch really far, and lowering the string tension by tuning down makes that something that's more comfortable to do. Now you get like old Leo Kottke recordings where he was tuning like in G tuning, but he would tune all the way down. I mean, like so that the low D string was tuned down to a low B flat. That's like really super low. It's really hard to keep the guitar in tune. Your finger pressure will simply bend the thing out of tune. And most of the songs that he does along that line were slide tunes, so that wasn't so much of an issue. But yeah, the tuning problems can be an issue with lower string tension because your fingers themselves can bend the octaves out of tune. So there's a compromise between string tension and what you want to play and the sound range you want this to fall into. Obviously, if you're playing with other instruments, you're probably going to want to be playing standard pitch. However, that can get really tiring on your hands. It's hard on the instrument. So a lot of players, for practical reasons, will just tune down a half step or a whole step and use a capo. Others will have instruments that are built to withstand that and use really super custom light gauge strings with like an 8 or a 7 for like the high E. Those are really super light strings. But if you're going to do something that was going to be really very involved on those, they're kind of hard because they're limited in their dynamic range. You really can't rip into those because the strings are so light. The dynamic range of how hard you can hit the string is limited by the gauge. So it just depends on a lot of factors. So it's not necessarily bad to tune your 12-string down unless you've got a 12-string that's just simply not built to handle that. If you are playing 12-string almost exclusively, well, I mean, you can end up getting like tendonitis and arthritis in your hands if your 12-string isn't properly set up for that tension. You can make your hands really strong, but over time you can get things like there's this things called a neuroma that can form in between the joints of your hands here that comes from that pressure, and then you're getting pain when you're playing, and nobody wants to have pain when they're playing guitar. I mean, this is supposed to be a fun activity. So why not tune down? Why not drop the pitch, a whole step and put your capo on the 2nd fret? That makes things a lot easier on you, makes it easier on the guitar, makes it more pleasant to play. So it's all just a matter of utility. And 12-string guitarists are among some of the most creative people you'll run into because of the problems that the 12-string causes. And they will do some really interesting things to work around those problems. And down tuning or different open tunings are part of that process of being creative and getting a sound that sounds good. So it's not necessarily bad to tune to standard tuning, but it is limiting in certain ways. If you want to get around those limitations, down tuning can help you get around that. I have a total of, I think there's about 8 12-strings in here. Some of them are in standard. The electric ones in particular are in standard. I keep one acoustic one in standard. I have one of the 12-string back behind me here. I keep that one now in one half step low. The one over here is 1.5. In the middle is 1.5 steps low. My Guild, I use a little bit heavier strings on it, and I tune it full step low. So it just depends on what sound I want for that particular guitar, what kind of music I'm going to be playing on it, how demanding the music is, how many long stretches or how many long chord holds do I have to do, or how intense the finger picking is going to get. If I want to play really, really hard on it, I want to have heavier strings. That means I've got to tune down in order to get the flexibility that I need, but still get the dynamic range from the heavier strings. If I want to be tuned up to concert pitch, I've got to put the lightest gauge strings on there I can possibly get in order to be able to make that easier on the guitar and make it easier to play. So anyway, there's some ideas that I've just tossed out there for you. If you have questions or comments, show me how you approach the 12 string and the up tuning, down tuning, all those different kind of things, and I'd love to hear your ideas too, and share out with one another. This is kind of becoming a community where we share these ideas and people try out different things. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time here on the channel. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Later.